Bismillah, read from where we stopped last time. Okay, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. ويصلي just the previous ibarat, just to go through that. ويصلي القائم خلف القائد, a person who is standing can read behind a person who's sitting. But when you say a person who's standing can read behind sitting, we told you the sitting person is making a full sajda, right? So that is called a qaid. So remember this is important. When we speak about a qaid in Hanafi fiqh, person, qaid, which literally translates as a sitting person, but we mean a person who is sitting, but he is making a full sajda. So alhamdulillah. So a person who is sitting and is making full sajda, he can be the imam of a person who is standing. And even though this doesn't sound logical because it goes against our proofs, or rather our usul, let's say that the imam must normally be stronger than the muqtadi. That the imam must be stronger than the muqtadi. But the reason why we abandoned our usul here is because we have explicit text, hadith from, or instance from the life of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, where Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam led the Sahaba Ikram, right? The next, so the mumi. So remember the difference between the qaid and the mumi. So the qaid is the one who's sitting, but he's making full sajda and he's bending down for ruku. But the mumi is that person who can't go down into sajda. That person who can't go down into sajda, but he's just bending. So he's bending a little bit for ruku and he's bending more for sajda, right? So ويصلي المؤمن خلف مثله لاستواء ما في الحال. So you got two people that are sitting and they can't make sajda. They are both just bending a little bit for ruku and they're bending a little bit for sajda. Then there, that's fine. The one can be the imam for the other because they are more or less the same. You know, like we told you, the one is not stronger than the other one. So ويصلي المؤمن what you got there, مؤمن خلف مثله. The mumi will be, he can read behind with like him لاستوائهما في الحال, because the two of them are the same more or less. إلا أن يومي المؤتم قائدا والإمام مضطجعا. But yes, if you got a mumi, a person who is sitting and reading, and he's bending a little bit for ruku, and he's bending is more for sajda, right? And then you got the other person who is a muttaji'. A muttaji means laying and praying. So there, we'll say the one that is muttaji', he cannot be the imam for the mumi. إلا أن يومئ المؤمن قائدا. Right? Well, imamu muttaji'un. There, illa means no, it will not work. And the person who's laying down, maybe that you will do this, it will come later on in the sabak, inshallah. Either he's laying on his back or he's laying on his side, whatever. He cannot be the imam for a person who's sitting and bending a little bit for ruku and is bending more for sajda, right? لأن القعود معتبر فيثبت به القوة. Because if you look at sitting and reading salah, it is a valid rukn in salah, right? So that means he is a bit more advanced. He is a bit more stronger than the person that is laying and praying. You understood that? لأن القعود معتبر, because sitting is معتبر. It is a valid rukn in salah. فيثبت به القوة. So he's got the edge over the person who is laying. So his salah is slightly stronger than the person who is laying. So he cannot be the imam for the person who is, or the person, or rather the person that is laying, right? Cannot be the imam of the person who's sitting and is making imam. Okay, read the next one. Right. So وَلَا يُصَلِّي الَّذِي يَرْكَعُ وَيَسْجُدُ خَلْفَ الْمُومِئِ. Right, remember the mumi is the person who is just bending a little bit for ruku and he's bending a bit more for sajda, right? So وَلَا يُصَلِّي الَّذِي يَرْكَعُ وَيَسْجُدُ, the one who is making ruku and is making sajda, He cannot pray behind khalf al-mumi'i. He cannot pray behind the person who is just bending. If you are so, you got a person that is just bending a little bit down for ruku, he's bending further for sajda because that is all his body allows him. The person who's making a full ruku and a person who's making a full sajda cannot pray behind him. But yes, if he's a qa'id, we told you this, he is making a full sajda, then the qa'im can pray behind him, right? And the reason here why we're saying that the qa'im cannot pray behind the mumi because لأن حال المقتدي أقوى, because here the condition of the muqtadi is stronger, right? وفيه خلاف الزفر, and here is اختلاف Imam Zufar. So I said Imam Zufar rahimahullah ta'ala, he says that even if a person is making ima, he's not making full ruku and sajda, right? Still then a person who is standing can pray behind him. Are you with me? You understood that there, right? Okay, read the next section, inshallah. لأن الاقتداء بناء. هو وصف الفرضية. Right. So this is another one of the famous mas'ala. This is a question, yeah. Yeah, the terms are qa'id. Qa'id is a person who's sitting, but he's making a sajda. And a mumi is a person who's sitting, but he's just bending forward. He's not making a full sajda. Right? Okay. We mentioned this before to you. There's a famous mas'ala of a muftarid khalf al-mutanafil. A person that is performing the faraz namaz, he cannot read salah behind a person who's reading nafil namaz. Like I told you, for example, this is allowed in the other madhahib. You came into the masjid, right? And the imam finished read salah, so somebody's reading the sunnahs there. So like you see, you tap him on his shoulder and you decide to read your faraz behind him. That is not on in the Hanafi madhab. And the reasoning and the rationale is quite simple there. The reasoning is this here, that this is bina'ul adaf al aqwa. Remember we told you this is like a train, remember, right? The train, the engine is the strongest because it has to pull all the carriages, because it has to pull all the carriages. So here, if you got a person reading a nafal namaz, his salat is weaker. His salat is weaker. So if his salat is weaker, how can he pull a person who's reading a faraz namaz, right? So وَلَا يُصَلِّ الْمُفْتَرِضُ خَلْفَ الْمُتَنَفِّلِ. So the person who's reading a faraz namaz, he will not pray behind a person who's reading nafal namaz, because the imam here is weaker than the muqtadi. Like I told you, لأن الاقتداء بناء, because iqtida, when you follow somebody, you are basing your action on his act. So how can you, for example, build a strong building, no matter you want to build a 20-story building on a foundation that can only carry a 1-story building, what will happen? The foundation will collapse, as they say. لأن الاقتداء بناء ووصف الفرضية, because اقتداء, following somebody, is bina'un, is you basing your thing on his, right? ووصف الفرضية معدوم في حق الإمام, and the quality of that, the person reading nafal namaz, وصف الفرضية, the quality of being farz, معدوم في حق الإمام, it is non-existent with regard in the salat of the imam. So how are you going to build a farz upon a salat which does not have a farz in it, right? فلا يتحقق البناء على المعدوم. So you cannot base a faraz upon a nafil, and a nafil is devoid and bereft of the quality of farziyat. So it is bina'u Adam, Bilal, Ma'adum. You're basing something on something where it is absent, it is not prevalent in there, right? You carry on, read the next one. Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. ولا ما يصلي فرضا خلف ما يصلي فرضا آخر. And neither will you pray one farz behind somebody is praying another farz. I'll give you an example. What example can you think about this? Person praying one farz, reading behind a person praying another farz. What example can you give me for this here? Maybe you, for example, you read your Zohar namaz already. So you came to another masjid for another program there, right? But they're busy reading the Zohar namaz. So you decide, okay, I got 4 rakats, Asar Qaza namaz. So I'm going to read my Asar Qaza behind this Imam that is reading the 4 rakat Zohar namaz. And so I'm saying, وَلَا مَا يُصَلِّ فَرَضًا خَلْفَ مَا يُصَلِّ فَرَضًا آخَرًا. And he will not pray one farz behind khalfa ma yusalli, a person who's praying another farz. So in simple, what you're saying is, if a person is reading a farz namaz and you want to read a farz namaz behind him, then your farz namaz must coincide with his farz namaz, right? Why? لأن الاقتداء شركة وموافقة فلا بد من الاتحاد. Because if you look at iqtida means following an imam. It is a partnership. You are a partner with that person in salah. Muwafaqatun, and you are coinciding. You're following him because simple example to understand is here. Somebody is going to town, right? And you can only go join him and go to town with him if sorry, somebody is going to town, right? Right. So the only way if you want to you can join him and go to town because you're going to the same place, right? But say, for instance, the person going to West End and you want to go to town. Can you say, no, he's also traveling, he's going to West End, but I'll travel with him and I'll go to town. It's not possible because you are not going in the same direction. So same thing here. We're saying, لأن الاقتداء شركة وموافقة. Because اقتداء, following somebody, شركة, it is a partnership. وموافقة, and you are coinciding. فلا بد من الاتحاد. So it is necessary that you must be together reading the same salah. Right? You can't, like I told you, you can't be in that man's car and he's going to West End and you expect that you're going to end up in town. It's not possible. So that person is reading Faraj namaz of Zohr and you want to read your Asr Qaza of yesterday. Not possible because you go in one direction and he is going in another direction. Carry on. Ala sabil muwafaqati. Right. So here the Shafi madhab is more, can say, easy. The Shafi madhab is more liberal in this. Imam Shafi said that you can read your farz behind a person that's reading nafal. Right. Imam Shafi says you can. If somebody is reading one farz, you can read another farz behind him, no problem. So وَإِنَّ الشَّافِعِيِّ, according to Imam Shafi, يَصِحُّ فِي جَمِيعِ ذَلِكَ. It is permissible in all of that. Why? لِأَنَّ الْإِقْتِدَاءَ إِنْدَهُ, because following the Imam in the according to him, أَدَاءٌ عَلَى سَبِيلِ الْمُوَافَقَةِ, is that you are discharging something على الموافقة, right? Just so you must just go inside with that person, right? So he's reading a salah, you're reading a salah, no problem. But we say, وَإِنَّنَا مَعْنَى التَّضَمُّنِ مُرَاءً. رَاءَ يُرَائِي مُرَائٍ. رُؤِيَ يُرَاءَ مُرَاءً is a maf'ul. But according to us, we say, وَإِنَّنَا مَعْنَى التَّضَمُّنِ. Remember we said that, I explained to you about the train. The engine is the stronger one. What? The engine is the stronger one. So the engine must pull the carriages. So same thing here. The salat of the imam must be able to carry. It must be able to encapsulate. It must be able to cover the salat of the muqtadi. And that can only happen when it is either the same salah or it is a stronger salah. Are you with me? That's what he's saying. وَإِنَّنَا مَعْنَى التَّضَامُنِ مُرَاءً. According to us, the meaning of encapsulating mura'an is considered. All right, read the next one. Right. Right. ويصلي المتنفل خلف المفترض. A person reading nafil salah can read behind a person who's reading fard salah. That's pretty simple. Like I gave you the same example. You read salah in your masjid already, right? And now you came to another masjid and you see there they haven't read salah. So long it's not makruh time, you just want to read 4 rakats nafil namaz, right? Like we discussed this before. The makruh times of salah after asr, the makruh times of reading of salah, nafil salah, like after asr, after fajr, etc., etc. So you read salah here, for example, now you went to Masjid Taqwa, and there in Masjid Taqwa, they still reading Zohr namaz. So you want to just read 4 rakats nafil namaz, right? So no problem. You can read a nafil, you can read your nafil namaz behind a person who is reading Farz namaz. Right? He's saying, وَيُصَلِّ So, وَيُصَلِّ الْمُنْتَنَفِّلُ خَلْفَ الْمُفْتَرِدِ The person reading nafil salah, he can read. Can you carry on, Mister? Mister, you're making a lot of dust here. Right? So you can do that. Why? لأن الحاجة في حق إلى أصل الصلاة. Because if you look at the person who is reading nafil salah, he don't need to, as an imam, he don't need a person who is reading a farad salat, a strong salah. Because if you look at the nafil salah, there's a lot of scope. There's a lot of wus'at to such an extent. You just have to have a mutlaq intention for nafil salah. Like I give you an example, just before Zohar namaz, if you make a mutlaq intention of reading 4 rakat nafil salah, that will suffice for your sunnat of Zohar, no problem, right? So, لأن الحاجة في حقه إلى أصل الصلاة. Because if you look at a person, right, لأن الحاجة في حقه, because the need with regards to him, right, إلى أصل الصلاة, he just need a salah, because nafil salat is so weak, right? وهو موجود في حق الإمام, and if you look at it, this is prevalent in the person reading fard namaz, because he's already got the wasf salat, right? Right, وهو موجود في حق الإمام فيتحقق البناء. So it will be fine. So you will join the Imam who's performing Farah Salah. You join him for Nafil Salah. Yes, you can do that. If you just reading Nafil Salah and the Imam is reading a Farah Salah, and you need to read a Nafil Salah, and you decided to follow the Imam in the Nafil Salah, that's fine. So وهو موجود في حق الإمام. So this is present in the Imam. فيتحقق البناء. So following him will be fine. There will be no problem with that, right? Okay, read the next ibarat. Muhdithun. Right. Interesting, Maslaya. So you followed the Imam, right? And normal we speak going back now, Faraz namaz, whatever, Maghrib namaz, Isha namaz. And after the namaz, the Imam realized that he didn't have wudu. He remembered that he broke his wudu and he never refreshed his wudu. So he realized, so he read his salah thinking he had wudu. but he didn't have wudu. He read his salah thinking he has wudu, but he didn't have wudu, right? So, وَمَنِ اقْتَدَى بِإِمَامٍ, whoever followed the imam, ثُمَّ عَلِمَ أَنَّ إِمَامَهُ, then he learned that his imam muhdithun, he is in the halat hadath, أَعَادَ, he will repeat his salah, because like I told you, the imam is zamin. The imam is the engine that is driving you. So if his salah is not valid at all, how is your salah going to be valid? Right? And that's a aqli dalil. What's a naqli dalil? لقوله عليه السلام, because of the statement of Nabi Sallallahu Man amma qawman, whoever made imamat of a people, ثم ظهر أنه كان محدثا, then it became apparent that he did not have wudu, أو جنوبا, or maybe he even learned afterwards he's in need of a faraz ghusl, أعاد صلاته, he will repeat his salah, وأعادوا, and they will also have to repeat his salah, وفيه خلاف الشافعي, and this is a difference of opinion Imam Shafi, بناء على ما تقدم, based on what we discussed earlier. So as Imam Shafi says, if a person knows he doesn't have wudu and he intentionally makes imamat, then obviously the salat of the muqtadi will not be valid. But yes, if he thought he got wudu, he thought he got wudu, and then he made imamat, and then somebody followed him, then his salah will be valid. Doesn't matter if the imam. So then only the imam have to repeat his salah, right? وفيه خلاف الشافعي. In it is a difference of opinion of Imam Shafi, بناء على ما تقدم, based on what we discussed earlier. That Imam Shafi said the main thing is there must be the sifat of salat, and in both there is salat, so it's fine. ونحن نعتبر معنى التضمن, like we mentioned earlier, we say that the salah of the imam must be stronger. It must be able to encapsulate. It must be able to carry the salat of the muqtadi. And here, when a person hasn't got wuzu, how can his salah carry the salah of the muqtadi? ونحن نعتبر معنى التضمن وذلك في الجواز والفساد. So that is تضمن, being stronger. It will be considered in whether it's permissible to follow the imam, and also to be considered in whether the salat is valid or it is not valid. The salah of the imam is not valid, then the salah of the muqtadi obviously will also not be valid. Okay, we stop there, inshallah ta'ala. Allah ta'ala accept it. Allah ta'ala make it show it on our mizan. Allah ta'ala make it a means of shifa for all those who are ill. سبحان الله بحمده سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك. سبحانك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.